here. Let me welcome everyone to this webinar. Today we have a main topic, research and innovation. It's under Interreg program Innovation as a Service for the Danube region. I'm not sure if you see the main screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, okay, super. This training is one of the 9 topics under this trainings program. In the next month, we have a market research, then infrastructure and collaboration opportunities, and then production and manufacturing. Today we have a prepared 3 presentation. First one is from Silvia, Kätzler and Felix Salcher for Vorarlberg University of Applied Science. The next one will be Matúš Maršalko from Innovation Center of Košice region. And the next presentation will be from Michal Pavlica. It's from Devan Banja Luka. If everybody agree, we could start with first presentation.
Yes, of course. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Silvia, Felix, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Will you share your presentation or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I stop mine.
So I hope you can see my presentation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So, yeah, welcome to our presentation on fostering innovation through research and industry collaboration here at the Vorarlberg University of Applied Sciences. My name is Silvia. I'm an academic researcher here in the Business Informatics Research Center, and my colleague Felix and I would like to introduce you to the research and innovation capacities of our university. First, I would like to introduce you to the region itself, where we are located, and tell you a little bit more about the University of Applied Sciences. On the one hand, this includes how we build innovation capacities in our everyday life as an educational institution, but also how we contribute with our research capacities that they are available for the region in an advantageous way and that the region benefits from them. Afterwards, Felix, also a member of our research center, will tell you something about the research center itself, and he will present the innovation project Josef Ressel Centre to you as a best practice. And you are welcome to ask your questions about the Josef Ressel Centre during the presentation in the chat or afterwards directly to Felix. So let us first introduce the region in which we operate. Vorarlberg is in the west of Austria, and this should give you an idea why we do what we do and what challenges we face. So Vorarlberg is located in the heart of Europe. We have borders to Germany, Liechtenstein and Switzerland, and it's surrounded by the majestic Alps. So we have the Swiss Alps and Austrian Alps, and we have a stunning landscape here, a high quality of living, and the region is equally popular with sports enthusiasts. We do a lot of skiing here, for example, and also for art lovers, so we have a great culture. The central location of Vorarlberg and the efficient transport connections make it an ideal hub for European travel. While we have urban centers here, but I have to tell you, you can't compare our urban centers to big cities like Vienna or Salzburg or Innsbruck. We have many villages and some small cities, but on a very small space. So that's one extreme on the one side, and then we also have large rural areas and a lot of untouched nature on the other side. So we have these both extremes here in Vorarlberg. Our region boasts a historically grown, strong manufacturing industry with many family-owned companies. You may know them, Zumtobel Lighting or Bloom or Rauch. You may know them from the beverages, juices, but also the company Alpla. It's a worldwide operating plastic packaging solutions company. And you may also know Doppelmayr. They are known for their ropeways. They are all located here in Vorarlberg. The number of startups here in Vorarlberg is developing, but what's very special is that there is a high chance to meet an inventor here in Vorarlberg because we have the highest rate of inventions in Austria. In terms of research, we had a cumulative research volume of 11 million euros in 2024, with approximately 104 research projects being worked on. So this is research and innovations. Mainly in innovative fields like sustainability, digital transformation, and also advanced manufacturing technologies. And we, as the University of Applied Sciences in Vorarlberg, are an important research partner in the region. So let me tell you a little bit more about our university. We are a very young university. We are the only university for applied sciences in Vorarlberg, and the university was founded in 1994. And we are a key player in education and research here. We offer 25 study programs in 4 core competences: business administration, engineering, technology, design, social work, and health. And as you can see, these are the main topics that are currently high relevant and in demand in our region. Our university currently has around about 1,600 students and 350 employees in research as well as in administration. We operate our own research facilities, and we collaborate with a lot of institutions internationally and here in the region, and with industry partners. So what makes us unique? What are the key elements of the university? We offer an efficient and practice-oriented instructions in our study programs. The direct connection between research and studies is very important for us, and we try to establish an open learning environment and an international learning atmosphere. We are very well aware of the fact that our students are the future leaders of the region, and we are committed to maintain close contacts with our industry partners to ensure that our graduates are very well prepared for the job market. So I will show you in which the structure of the university. Here we call it FHV, FHV in German. That's the short version of University of Applied Sciences in Vorarlberg. On the one hand, we have our study program I've already mentioned. And in the second pillar, you see another core element of our work, the research. We are one of the research strongest universities of applied sciences in Austria. And we also offer advanced trainings. This means further education and master's programs at an academic level in the institution of Schlosshofen. This is for professionals and lifelong learners. So let's focus on our capacities. We support research and innovation capacities through, on the one hand, through our study programs with specializations and contextual studies, but we are also a member of the RUN-EU, that's a university alliance, and we have our research centers and groups, we have technology partnerships and labs, and we do also have innovation projects like the Josef Ressel Centres. And we actively collaborate with regional and international industry partners to address real life or real world challenges. So I would like to briefly highlight the various areas. So what does it mean that we foster innovation within our study programs, among our students? This means that we try to address important questions, innovation context in our study programs. This means course content, specializations, contextual studies. They have the chance to learn something about startups, entrepreneurship, or a design process thinking. Then we are part of the SCABI, that's the Sustainability Teaching Case Studies for Business and Engineering Education. That's an international project to anchor sustainability as a core value in business and engineering education. And this should prepare students for the green transformation. And therefore, they are encouraged to bring in new ideas and to make innovation. Then we also have event formats that promote innovation, like you can see there, Open Idea or Technic Forum. And this should support exchange, but also networking and to talk about new ideas. And we have an in-house startup center. It's called Startup Stube. It's there for students as well as for employees. When they have ideas, they can go there and work on their ideas. They find their consulting, coaching, mentoring, and support. And this also includes special programs for women. Then we are, as I've mentioned before, in RUN EU. That's a European university, an alliance of 7 dynamic universities from 6 different countries in Europe. And as you can see, this means a lot of students and 53 faculties and around about 100 research facilities. That's very important for the researchers. And this means that our students have the possibility to participate in new study programs and get new degrees. The focus is on regional development with a focus on sustainability, multiculturalism, and inclusion. For researchers, this means access to interregional European innovation centers, but also to collaborative research projects and the strengthening of cross-border knowledge transfer and exchange and networking opportunities, of course. And therefore, I think that the RUN EU is also an important part of our innovation and research capacities. So now let's move on to another core element of our university. It's the research. So you have to know that our international research capabilities at the University of Applied Sciences in Vorarlberg, these are mostly third-party funded and should serve the region. So collaboration with partners in industries and businesses are prioritized. Here are some key figures for you. So we have a research volume of 6.5 million euros. This was in 2024. And over 100 researchers work at the FAV in Dornbirn. And they collaborate with more than 300 research and innovation partners. This means these are approximately 60 research projects, and the half of it is with companies and institutions, public and also private institutions from Vorarlberg. And this should lead to benefits for the entire region. Therefore, I would like to give you a quick overview to our research focuses and our research portfolio. So as you can see, we have research centers and research groups. These are mainly technology-based. So you can see business informatics, digital business, microtechnology, human-centered technologies. We have one group in empirical social sciences. And you also can see here our research focus, which is mainly AI or IoT, but also sensors and logistics. Yeah, and we also offer research services like material coating and characterization, but also laser processing, environmental simulations. We have different labs, and we have the Josef Ressel Centers. There are 2 of them at the university. One of the Josef Ressel Centers is located in the Business Informatics Research Center. And it's an innovation hub that facilitates knowledge transfer between academia and industry. And that's the point where I would like to hand over to Felix. Felix is a member of one of the Josef Ressel Centers, and he will tell you a little bit more about the Business Informatics Research Center itself, and afterwards about the project. If you have any questions, remember, please write it down in the chat, or afterwards you can ask Felix. And now I would like to hand over to Felix. The stage is yours. I will stop sharing.
Perfect. And then I will take over from here. So you have just seen this slide, so I'm just gonna take over from here. Shortly, I think Silvia introduced me quite well. Salcher Felix, working at the Research Center Business Informatics at the Josef Ressel Centre, which I will talk a bit more about in a moment. But first, let me quickly talk about the Research Center as a whole, so that you know where we are located and what we are doing. So for us, how we positioned ourselves both in academia and specifically towards like when working with companies, is that we mainly focus on enabling technologies, is what we call it. So examples you can see here, like artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality. Those are all technologies that enable businesses to become more innovative, and this is where we as the research center think we can help. You can see here in the center it's called FZBI, which is just the German name for the research center where we are located. And as you can see at the core, there are our enabling technologies that are supported by different methods like hubs and living labs and the stuff that we are involved with as a research facility. And we put a lot of effort in making sure that we can transport these enabling technologies, that we have the technological foundation at the FHV to help other companies make use of these technologies. This is always what we see, is that we see, hey, we have these enabling technologies, we have these enabling methods, and we can, with those technologies, we can help enterprises either extend specific products or organizations. Specifically when it comes to methods, methods usually help extending the enterprise. Technologies often help in extending different products, but this is where we see ourselves specifically when it comes to digital technologies and trends like sustainability. We can do a lot with these new technologies and with these new methods. As you might have probably guessed from the presentation that Silvia has already shown you, we get we are mostly third-party funded, and we get that funding from a lot of different places. Of course, there are a bunch of huge funding opportunities within the European Union, which we gladly take part in. Specifically, Horizon Europe is something that we have been quite involved with and quite successful with getting funding. Then there are, like, for smaller parts of Europe, there are specific interregional projects. And as we are like at the center of a lot of these different regions, there are a lot of these interregional projects that we are involved with. The Vorarlberg as a region is quite attractive when it comes to these interregional products, with a lot of market leaders in different industries and technologies. And then there is, of course, the national funding. Austria is not the biggest country with about 8 million people, but still there are some funding opportunities specific to Austria, and one of them I will talk about in a moment, because the Josef Ressel Centre that I will talk about is funded by the Christian Doppler Forschungsgesellschaft, but I will come to that in a second. One last slide before we do that. Just so you know, like, we are located in this very small part here in Austria, but we work together with like a lot of different companies all over the place, all over the world. The industry that we have here in Austria allows in Vorarlberg allows us to connect with a lot of other market leaders around the world and share our findings with a lot of different cool companies that we get to work with, specifically in the European and interregional projects. There's a lot of exchange to make sure that our knowledge is expanded outside of Vorarlberg and Austria. Yeah, this is just a list of past projects that we have done. As you can see, a lot of them mention either the Alps or the 3 letters KMU, which is just small and medium-sized enterprises. So a lot of the Austria-specific funding is focused on small and medium enterprises. Because we have a lot of them here in Austria, a lot of them are also very innovative, and we just make sure to support them whenever we can. So specifically, what is called here KMU Digital is a series of projects that make sure that small and medium-sized companies can also reap in the benefits of digitalization, and not only large companies that can afford to invest in it and have a lot of people work on it. But the main thing why you are here probably, or the main thing that we want to focus on is the Josef Ressel Centre. I'm not going to go too much into detail today in the presentation on what we do at the Josef Ressel Centre in terms of what is our the topics are that we are working on. This is more focused on how a Josef Ressel Centre is set up, and how this setup, we believe, can be a prime example of how, if you have the right setup of a funding, you can make sure that all of your knowledge and the things that you do during your research is useful for industry, so that the knowledge is transferred into industry. And I think this is what the Josef Ressel Centre setup is perfect for. And if you have any questions about what we actually do, what does this for robust decision making mean, then I can probably explain that during the questions if you're interested in that. But the Josef Ressel Centers are application-oriented research projects. And the way that they work is Josef Ressel Centers are always set up for a funding period of 5 years, funded by the Christian Doppler Gesellschaft and the FFG, which are both Austria, funding bodies in Austria. And the way that they work is they are set up, as I mentioned, for 5 years with a evaluation after 2.5 years. So you are funded for 3 + 2 years. If you manage to pass the screening basically after 2.5 years, you will get the full 5 years funding. And the interesting way that this is set up is that half of the funding for these Josef Ressel Centers comes from the governmental bodies, and the other half comes from industry partners. So when you create or when you want to have a Josef Ressel Center funded, when you hand in your application basically, or your proposal, you already need to have industry partners lined up that are willing to agree on a 5-year contract with you, where they guarantee basically that if the outputs of the research are as expected, that they will pay for 5 years for half of the costs of this Ressel Center. So as I already mentioned, there's a long-term project duration. I will go into why this is important in a minute. And there's a midterm evaluation after about 2.5 years, depending on scheduling. And there is a 80-20 principle, which means that with the entire funding that we get, 80% should be used for applied research, and the other 20% should be used for what is called here basic research, or basically the research interests of the people working at the Josef Ressel Centre. Specifically for us, this usually means working on PhD topics, or topics that are closely related to the PhD. Usually these PhD topics come out of the things that we naturally work on as part of the Josef Ressel Centre, and this 20% of time allocated just allows us to dive deep into topics that might not always be of immediate benefit to the partner companies, but will definitely benefit the PhD thesis. This could also be methodological based on like some method that you want to apply in your PhD or something. Yeah, and as you already mentioned, there's this bottom-up approach that basically all of the goals of this Josef Ressel Centre are aligned with the goals of the research partners. And what is also very, very nice about the Josef Ressel Centres is usually when you have a long-term project, 5 years in this case, it often happens that goals change or that goals shift, so that it's either in the research or at the partner companies that different things need to be prioritized at different points in time. Could also be that there's a new innovative technology that needs to be integrated, and the way that these work packages are set up at the Josef Ressel Centres allows us, especially during this midterm evaluation after 2.5 years, to shift priorities, to stop working on old work packages if, as a group, you decide that this doesn't make sense anymore, and instead to use the funding to work on new technologies that might have emerged in those 2.5 years that you have been working. And when it comes to improved practicability of research competencies, what makes the Josef Ressel Centres special is that, as I mentioned, half of the funding comes from the partner companies, and their evaluation of the results after 2.5 years is also a large part of the entire evaluation. So it could be that the scientific evaluation of a Josef Ressel Centre is good, so that the scientific evaluator says there's a nice amount of research output in terms of conference papers or journal papers, and that is all nice and good, and that is one of the goals of a Josef Ressel Centre. But the funding can only continue if the industry partners also agree that they are reaping benefits out of the money that they are putting in. So if you're getting, I don't know, 20,000 euros from one of the industry partners, they need to feel like the 20,000 euros they're putting in each year, they are getting something of equal or ideally even greater value out of it each year. And only if the companies agree with that, then the funding can continue. I already mentioned 5 years is a long time, but it is perfect for Josef Ressel Centres for multiple reasons. One of them is that it allows the PhD topics to grow and to establish themselves, but also for the PhD candidates to ideally finish within those 5 years if they are working hard and might get a little bit lucky with 1 or 2 journal publications. But it also allows us as a research center to get to know the company partners a lot better and to get a better understanding of their needs. And basically you need to establish a way of working together, and that usually doesn't happen within a few weeks. That usually takes a little bit of time. I can talk specifically about the way that I have been working with one of the company partners, Hirschmann Automotive, and it takes some time to make sure that, first of all, you get to know the right people. Sometimes, in our case, it was this way. The people that initially set up the contract for the Josef Ressel Centre might not be the ideal people to work with when it comes to doing the actual project. And you also need to get a better understanding of the way that the company culture, first of all, like how does this company operate, and also the core processes that are at a company. When we started, I think at this point it's 4 years ago almost, I didn't know anything about high-speed assembly, thermal injection molding, and all of that stuff. But because we are allowed to work so closely with these companies for such a long time, we as researchers can also establish knowledge in the processes that make those companies strong. And we have a lot of strong partners in this Josef Ressel Centre. As you can see in this picture, the way that it is set up is we have 4 company partners. Each of them has their own like work package assigned to them. So in this case, the two bigger partners are Hirschmann Automotive and the Hypo Vorarlberg GmbH. Hypo Vorarlberg is the bank, like an Austrian bank or a bank specifically operating in Vorarlberg. And then we have Valantic and MyPax. So the way that this is set up is that we have these larger partners, and each of these larger partners has like a smaller partner that is basically interested in something that is quite close to what the larger partner does. So for Hirschmann Automotive, we initially focused a lot on like predictive maintenance, but basically anything that has to do with gathering production data. And Valantic was interested in, as you can see here, generative production planning. So this is basically scheduling production orders, efficient scheduling of production orders. And for the Hypo use case, it is that both of these companies, Hypo and MyPax, are specifically interested in one, robust rating systems, and B, robust scenario simulation. So basically a what-if analysis that we do for both the Hypo and MyPax, where Hypo can run different scenarios. What happens if taxes increase? What happens if, a lot of like different stuff that can happen that we don't hope that happens. And the bank should be able to operate within all of these worst case scenarios. So this is what we are working there mostly with the companies. But yeah, as I said, my focus in this case is mostly on the Hirschmann Automotive use case. And I only brought one slide here with me, but I think with this slide I can show and explain a lot of what we do. So what you can see here is on the left side is a picture that is at this point like a year old or something, but it shows a live production dashboard that is set up at Hirschmann Automotive in their production hall. And why I mentioned this is because this is something that they have developed together with us at the Josef Ressel Centre. They came to us at the beginning of the project and they said, hey, there is this thing people talk about called Industry 4.0. That's like especially what the Germans like to use as a term. Smart manufacturing is another one that you could use. And we feel like we are lacking in this department. Like we have all of these production machines and we're not getting any data out of it. We don't know what's going on. Everything is basically done on paper. And if you want to stay competitive, this needs to change. This was a radical transformation that was happening right as we were starting this project. And they said, hey, we need to have a system architecture that supports this. And that supports this long term and that makes us able to compete with the big boys again, basically in the market. The automotive market was very competitive back then, is even more competitive right now due to the market being flooded with Chinese cars specifically right now. So German cars are under pressure a lot. And so what we did is first we together with the company, we figured out, okay, what are your requirements? Where can we help specifically when it comes to technology research, testing out things in a lab setting? What we learned is that we as the University of Applied Sciences, we are usually a lot more flexible. Like when you do something at an industry partner, there are always 15 people that need to approve this. There are always 15 firewalls that are in the way of downloading something on a company network. So we at FHV, we were able to provide like a playground, a testing ground for all of these different technologies, simulate machines, try out different stuff. And the nice thing is when you have a strong partner in the background that wants to get the benefits out of what you're trying, you always get direct feedback. And if you have something that you want to test in a real environment, you can do it. And this led us to a publication that I presented last year at the IEEE IaaS conference on Madeira, where we presented this architecture that we built with Hirschmann Automotive. And we presented an architecture that is not built in a lab and hasn't been tested in the real environment. This is something that I can present, and I know that this is the core, this is the foundation of a system that is running in 4 different plants for a very large automotive provider. So this is something that actually works in the real world. So both sides, if it works great, can benefit from closely working together. We as academia can be more sure in that what we are presenting, what we are working on, is actually useful for companies, and companies in this case like Hirschmann Automotive can benefit from the flexibility that we have, and the knowledge in technologies and methods that we bring to the table that might not be as relevant or as there at the companies. So what I want to give you, like what I have learned during the past couple of years, is the 5-year funding period is a real blessing. I've talked with a lot of people who are in like shorter research projects, and obviously probably most of you are also in shorter research projects, and it just gives you a lot of time to get to know the needs of the partner company, how it operates, how it works. And it just makes, like right now that we are in like year 4 and 5 of working together, you can just feel that everyone knows each other, processes work, everything is smooth, and we can be really, really productive. What we missed out on, especially during the first year and then got better in like year 2 and 3, is to get to understand the role of research and development at the partner company. Like we are in the lucky position that Hirschmann Automotive has a strong research and development department themselves that is also focused on making sure that innovative technologies get put to the right use. And they are basically our first line of defense when it comes to getting new ideas, prototyping new stuff, anything that's like internal in the company where anyone has a good idea, be that at the C-level or like an operator on the shop floor. They have very good processes to make sure that these ideas find their way to the research and development department at the company, and together with them, we can then have great discussions on what should we prioritize next, what should we focus on based on the ideas that come in. The evaluation by the partner companies enforces that tangible benefits are created. This is obviously a blessing and a curse. If it works, it's really good because you have the strong backing of the companies. Even if the scientific output might be lacking in 1 year, as it did for us in year 2 specifically, for example, you still have the strong backing of the companies that can say, hey, well, they were so focused on making sure that we get our money's worth out of this Josef Ressel Centre. They just didn't have enough time to publish all of that. It's going to happen within the next half a year. We are happy with the results, and so you can have this backing from the companies, which is quite nice, or was quite nice for us in this case, and it. Like working with these companies allows us to stay up to date with emerging, here it says research topics, but it would be more ideal if it would say industry topics. So sometimes, like specifically for us in the field of manufacturing, there are some ideas that skipped academia first, that came into industry first, and are now slowly finding their way into research. There are all of these topics of like data meshes, unified namespace, and what have you not in terms of manufacturing that are slowly finding their way into academia, that have been discussed on like industry conferences all the way back in like 2019 and like before COVID and all of that stuff. And working together with companies, closely working together with companies, allows us to know these topics right as they find their way into academia. So that we can be right on top of it once it becomes relevant for us. But with that said, I think I want to leave at least some space for questions. So with that, I hope I have was able to give you like a brief introduction on like this funding scheme, which I think is really nice with the 50-50 funding, where half of it comes from like governmental bodies and half of it comes from industry partners, allows for some awesome projects. I haven't even talked about the other half with the financial institutions. Yeah, so with that said, thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, now would be the perfect time. I wasn't able to catch chat, but yeah.
Before we have some questions, I really say thank you, Silvia and Felix, to your interesting presentation. We really appreciate the introduction into the topic. University life looks really interesting as the study program the same, the labs. It's a shame I can't get involved anymore. If anybody has some questions, don't hesitate and ask.
Yeah, and otherwise, if you still need to think about it, I know that I can be quite fast sometimes and provide a lot of information in quite a short amount of time. We will still be here. Yeah, and if you have any question, just feel free to reach out either in the chat or something. Or yeah, you can also obviously, I know for me at least, you can find me on LinkedIn. So if like you need to sleep on it first, and then tomorrow you wake up and said, this is what I wanted to ask Felix, you can just hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Felix.
Thank you.
I also check chat, so now we have no questions. So I think we could continue with the second topic if everybody agree. It's a presentation by Matúš Maršalko from Innovation Centre of Košice region. The topic is innovation and region growth, the future of Slovakia. So Matúš, it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barbara. Hello, everyone. I hope that you see my presentation fine in the screen. So,
yeah.
Okay. My name is Matúš Maršalko, and I'm working for this company like EU Project Writer. And I prepare for you studies from a national bank who will focus on this project. Because there is a lot of terms what we can using for our work. So I won't show you these ideas because our team request me for presentate this topic. So what it means, the CuRI project. CuRI project is catching up region innovation. It means it's a focus on innovation helps for regional development in Slovakia, particularly in Banská Bystrica and Košice. Banská Bystrica is the sixth biggest city in Slovakia, and Košice is second one. Innovation is crucial for economic growth, job creation, and modernization of industries. Slovakia has great potential, but still lags behind more development countries. That's why with Slovakia Catching Up Regions was created, this project. It supports new technologies and starts up and research to help Slovak regions grow faster and become more competitive in Europe. What is it, this project? This project is cooperated by the European Commission, implemented by the World Bank in Slovakia, and focus on research, development, and innovation in Banská Bystrica, concretely in Košice and Banská Bystrica. What is the goal? The goal is so to help these areas catch up with more development European regions by supporting business, education, and technologies. A key part of initiative of creation of regional centers, which will serve the hubs for innovation and technological progress. Main goals of CuRI4 is supporting talent, governments, and monitoring, developing companies and startups, transferring technologies. In the supporting talent, we have the similar in our company that we want to educate young people, scientists and experts to grow with startups. And in this term, it means that supporting via universities in our cities. Second part is developing companies and startups, helping small business grow to innovate it. Our center is helpful with our place and our activities for growing up these companies. We want to connect in our region these companies to help them possibilities in our projects and to connect to other consortium with other companies. Third is transferring technologies between universities and business. So we still are using the sciences and the experts for this talking during these companies and organizations. So we're using the experts from university to request them for helping them. In the real days, they come to our center and they talk about in a conference about how we can support them, how they find a correct grant, and how they can connect to find perfect colleagues for their projects. And the fourth point, improving governance and data monitoring in regions. If we achieve the goal, Slovakia can attract more investors, create better jobs, and become leader in innovation. In our city in Košice, we have the biggest potential about growing up because a lot of investors coming from other countries in Slovakia, but they still finding the way how to support their business during some grants and for some funding. And so in our company, we support them for this. This study is from National Bank of Slovakia. So they supported us with the studies, with the documentation, who have more than 100 pages about how we can support them more effectively. Regional innovation centers, it calls RICs, are the main two-full development innovation. There are places where science, business, and startups can collaborate. Their main roles are education and talent development, startup support, and connecting universities with the business. It means technology transfer and data collection and analysis for the better decision making. There are centers will be key drivers for regional innovation economics growth. So, as I told before, that our center is focusing for data analysis. In our team, we are the 22 persons in our company. In regional centers, we have the special team for data, and they focus on what is the request from the local companies and how can we support their business. Education and talent. We're preparing a lot of events and special projects for support the school students. Which visited our company, and we at the other side we visited them in the universities. So in our consortium we have all city universities. So we still direct connected to these schools. Yes. Fourth is startup support, funding, incubation programs. So we prepare still every year the focus or program for them. When we talked with the other specialists from the schools and from the regional administrative, we're talking about how we can be more effective. Fourth is connecting universities, as I told before. So we want to ask them how we can be more effective with the technology transfer. The 4 pillars of innovations is included in our company. It's from this project. So we are still believe in startups, and there is a lot of young talents. So we improving education and working conditions. Second one is business and startups. So we, as I told before, that we making a lot of events. What we included a lot of teams from the universities. How we can support them, and we want to motivate them to create own startups and help them how to grow up and believe on their own startups. So sometimes the startups growing very fast up, but they need to support to survive these startups. Technology transfer, collaboration between universities and companies, yes, top efforts, and create the local ecosystem for effective investments. These points, it means that we need to be in good connection with all companies in our city and our regions, because in the past we don't have any special ecosystem for growing up concretely in Košice, in our city. We don't have a special system for support this ecosystem for companies. So now vision is to connect them and be like in Europe standards in ecosystems. Supporting talent, one of the key goals is keeping young people in Slovakia. Many students leave the country because they don't see enough opportunities. CuRI wants to change this by offering education programs in innovation, connection between students and business, support and loving startups. Our creative team makes in our company a lot of types systematical events and projects what can be very nice for support the motivation for young people, and especially in Slovakia, a lot of students after finish the school traveling to west and they finding the more money. We believe in our company that we can prepare them very nice business support and support for the startup. So we want to give them the idea that you can stand here in Košice if you have some ideas for your own business. Stay here, and we want to support you very effectively and help you to and teach you to survive. Supporting business and startups. This is the way what we using and effectively for surviving. As I told before, that first point is funding through the grants and investments. We teaching them how to request, how to be effective in your request for Euro grants, Europe grants, and we mentor them how can be connected to universities and to special guys who understand these troubles around the request for the grants. Third is support for expanding to international markets. So we open the doors in our company to these students or companies. We are the point for connect to another countries from Europe, and we will show you how your business can grow very fast or effectively. University business, it means collaboration very effectively. This, as I told you before, it's focused on our company. So we did a technical university and another 3 universities in Košice. We helping to make consortium and connections with students to teachers and to our guys who are supporting these laboratories who are using for growing up the startups. funding projects that help the industries. This ensures that scientific discoveries and use in real business application. So we want to be helpful for them in the real life. So their vision we want to provide to normal and effectively business. Improving governance and ecosystem. We are the regional innovations. We have the innovating regional strategies, and we improving funding from Europe grants and collecting data on the regional innovation development in our company. We collect all these things together, and then we make some strategies how we can the startups prepare for next years. For example, the startup at the first moment can be very grow up very fast, but 2 years later can fall down with the ideas, with the money. So we help them to survive their ideas and prepare them for surviving for the next years to grow up again. Examples and innovations programs, micro grant. There is several programs placed under this project, such as micro grant, small funding for innovative ideas, proto lab, a space for testing new technologies, startup factory, and accelerator for young enterprises. There is from the national bank programs, which we focus when we want to prepare next projects for the grants. So we will see the ideas how to prepare the grant request for the next companies and students. What is the biggest challenges in our regions? So lack of funding for the startups, weak collaboration and brain drain. So we still thinking about these points in these problems. We are focused because this if we support these troubles in our business and in our companies and in our startups, we can be very successful with the next years for survive many companies and many startups. The future of the innovation in Slovakia. Our vision is that in this project is better education for the young people, supporting startups and business, connecting university and industries more than these years. So we have the open collaboration in the projects, but next years our company takes new colleagues to our team. So in this vision, we want to grow up like this. To connect more universities and collaborations with students and companies. Okay. So thank you for attention. I hope that you understand my presentation. If you have any questions, you can connect via email and I will effectively respond to your questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Matúš. I check chat if you have any question. No? If anybody have any question, don't hesitate and ask. No. Okay, so if everybody agree, we could continue to third topic. It's from Del Convania Luca by Michel Paulica. Are you okay with this or need some small break?
It seems everybody is okay, so I guess I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Super, thank you very much. Michel, it's your turn.
I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. And let me just share my presentation screen. Can you see the screen on my presentation? No?
Yeah, we see.
Okay, Thank you very much.
Okay.
So my name is Mišel Pavlica. I'm coming from Banja Luka. It's the second largest city in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it's in the northwest part of the country. I'm not representing a public institution, academia, or some big body or company dealing with research, development, and innovation. I'm representing a small company which is called DevCon. DevCon comes for development consulting, and basically we are dealing with many little things which are in relation to economic development in Bosnia and Herzegovina primarily, but also in the area of Western Balkans. So just to give you a few examples, we are working on establishment of the community of practitioners to support small and medium-sized enterprises. We are performing assessments of things such as digital maturity of enterprises, assessments of quality of public services. We are also pretty much active in the area of strategic planning, private sector restructuring, enterprises, support to enterprises in different areas such as digitalization, and also in monitoring and evaluation of regional projects. This is just to give you a small overview of who we are and what are we doing. Now we are very interested in this subject because we are basically trying as a small company to provide to companies the elements of a system which are unfortunately missing in this country. And I would say they are pretty much missing in the whole region of Western Balkan. Now, when we are talking about research and innovation, we can say then that in its essence, it's a talk about knowledge in companies. It's a story about how this knowledge is being collected, created, multiplied, distributed, and at the end of the day used for the purpose of business improvement. The key sources of knowledge involve, on one hand, market, on the other hand, external research, and also external research when we are talking about company from company perspective and development of internal companies work. What we are missing pretty much in this country is any kind of research which comes from higher level institutions, public institutions, including academia. What I'm going to talk about, it's brief historical overview and current state of research in Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's very important to give this overview that I can pinpoint a few points which make this country different, perhaps from other countries, including those in the region. The next subject I will try to cover will be private and public sector investment in research and development activities, then collaboration networks and innovation projects in which the country and companies from Bosnia and Herzegovina are involved. And at the end of the day, I will try to give few industry perspectives on innovation and research adoption. I will also try to provide a few conclusions in terms of how we can move forward from this point. In order to position ourselves in the broad field of research and innovation, as a first step, we need to see what are the key research and innovation trends which shape industries globally. These trends affect the state of ongoing evolution of demand, sustainability needs, and technological capacity. To stay in focus in line with modern technologies, I have simply asked, and you can see that on my next slide, artificial intelligence. It's the chat what are research and innovation trends worldwide. And this is how the artificial intelligence has lined them out. So starting from digital transformation, Industry 4.0, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data analytics in manufacturing processes. The next thing in line with digital transformation is cloud computing, which involves adoption of cloud services to scale operations. The next subject in relation to research and innovation is sustainability and green technologies. This includes circular circular economy, clean energy solutions. I hope you can hear me well. Somebody is talking also. Perhaps somebody has his microphone on. Okay. The next subject with relation to innovation is artificial intelligence and automation, biotechnology and health innovations, cybersecurity, supply chain resilience, which is very important for the industry in the period of crisis, such we have witnessed during the COVID pandemic. Then smart cities and urban mobility, which involves research into smart city technologies, focusing on data-driven urban planning, energy-efficient building, and sustainable transportation solutions. Advanced materials science is also important for innovation. Food tech innovations in alternative foods, sustainable agricultural practices, food safety technologies. Also, one very developing thing in the last time is quantum computing. In the field of finance, it's decentralized finance and fintech, workplace technology and hybrid work solutions is another element of innovation trends, which DHS has provided as an answer to my question. And this all leads us to something which is called the smiling curve. What is the smiling curve? In seek for an answer why research and development, applied innovation included, is important for enterprise sector. The smiling curve tells us exactly how involvement into practices other than production, I mean pre-production and post-production activities, can increase the added value of company's product. With the advancement in the technology level, the company increases its capability to become a part of more advanced value chain. With the time, activities or internal functions of the company, which are other than production, become to play more and more significant role, and the smiling curve becomes even more smiley than it used to be historically speaking. While global trends show shift from production to pre-production and post-production activities, on contrary, some recent research suggests that companies in Bosnia and Herzegovina are predominantly focused on production functions, while other business segments, such as research and development, design, logistics, marketing, and after-sales services, are not given enough attention. And why research and innovation is important in this context? As an intangible pre-production value-adding activity, research and development helps adding economic value to products and services, serving as a key tool for better positioning in the global value chain. The same applies to other pre- and post-production activities such as design, logistics, marketing, post-sales, retail. Positioning in the global value chain reflects the level and kind of value creation of a firm or an industry. Research and development activities have significant impact on the positioning of an industry in the global value chain. The previous two slides about the smiling curve and about trends in the world were, and they were important to put things into the context, into the perspective, bearing in mind the current innovation trends worldwide and the importance of research and development for value chain positioning. Now let's take a look at the current and previous state of research and innovation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I must put it in the perspective, bearing in mind what was the industry or the economy of this country before. When I say before, once upon a time, I'm referring to the time in the late 80s, from 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it's been a long time from 90s to 2025 where we are now. So once upon a time, same like some other countries which were belonging to socialist or communist part of the world, there was a domination of large state-owned companies. Companies were vertically covering big parts of value chain, which means that the single company was pretty much sustainable. There were even companies which were producing final products and providing services, with very little need for external support from other companies and with very little participation of others in the value chain. These big companies have had own research and development departments within the company. The concentration was to products and services. There were strong links with universities and research and development institutions, and most importantly, there was a shared university and company knowledge management, meaning that some of the professors who were working at technical and other universities were at the same time members of the board of these large companies. Now we have pretty much different situation in the country. We have a domination of private, medium, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, and limited numbers of large enterprises. Consequently, we have low position of these companies in the value chain. Departments which are specifically focused to research and development in the country, in the companies are rather rare. They exist in very, very few companies. Even this function is non-existing in the company. We have the case that the companies are rather concentrated to processes than to products. This comes from constant pressure to reduce prices. This comes from the situation that these companies are positioned very low in the value chain. We have weak and occasional links with universities and research and development institutions. And this is not only to blame these institutions, this is also to blame the companies which have limited capacity for any kind of collaboration. And as a consequence, there is a limited use of external knowledge for research and innovation activities. The worst thing is that after 30 years, we have total discontinuity in knowledge transfer, meaning that persons who have been working as specialists, engineers, professors in the previous large state-owned enterprises have not had a chance due to the war and everything what has been going on after the war to transfer this knowledge to new persons who are able to take over. And this is now costing the Bosnia and Herzegovina economy, as you will see on the next slide, pretty much this whole situation. Digging more deep into the innovation ecosystem characteristics of Bosnia and Herzegovina, we may conclude that so far the country has successfully transformed its research and development centers into the shopping mall. And I'm not kidding when I'm saying this. Literally here in Banja Luka, there are huge areas which are dedicated to production large-scale industrial systems, which are now shopping malls where we go to shop. For instance, there is one private university at the location where there was a development center of one large factory which has been producing from the 70s TVs, radios, even cameras and so on. So there is total discontinuity between now and what was once upon a time. Now, having all this in mind, let's come to B&H innovation ecosystem characteristics. Underdeveloped innovation system, this is the key characteristic with the lowest investment in the Western Balkans region. You will see also some hard data, some statistics on this later on. Furthermore, developing innovation ecosystem primarily promotes technology transfer, which means that with regard to development of an application of own innovative solutions, the country is pretty much limited and dependent on technology transfer from abroad. We still have underdeveloped capacities of key stakeholders and interactions which should enable joint use of scarce resources, meaning that literally links between, for instance, academia, institutions which are supposed to support research and development and innovation on one side and companies on the other side are very shy. There is a limited private sector interest in line with all limited absorption capacities and academia capacities to conduct research. And there is insufficient research funding, which is primarily relying on government budgets and international grants through international projects, meaning that private investment into research, development, and innovation is pretty much limited. Finally, we come to something what is called usually bureaucratic hurdles and lack of innovation infrastructure. And by this, I will just single out a case of typical faculty lab. For instance, at one technical faculty here in the city of Banja Luka, there are 14 different labs, out of which only perhaps 2.5 are operational. Instead of serving the needs of enterprises, these labs primarily serve representation needs in case of visit of some international and other delegations, meaning the professor or assistant comes, opens the lab, shows the equipment, and this is how the lab is being used. Labs do not work and they don't earn money. Responsible ministries find it difficult, for instance, to refund accreditation or reaccreditation of a lab, and we are talking about perhaps 10,000 euro amount of investment. Besides being busy with their formal education responsibilities and re-election into positions, the professors and assistants do not find interest in working through university systems, since roughly half of the earnings is taken away before it comes to persons who did the job. Under these circumstances, there is no question why nobody is interested to support and to work through university systems. So professors rather work as individual consultants or through private companies than through universities. And as they are working primarily alone or with a limited number of other persons, the knowledge is not being shared, it's not being exchanged, it's not developed. And why is it so difficult to support research and development environment? Why public sector does not recognize research and development, innovation, and relevant knowledge? Many of people who are foreigners have heard of exemplary complex administrative structure of Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have 13 governments and probably hundreds of ministries. It's very hard to count. We have ministries at the state, entity, and cantonal level. We have institutions which are supposed to support research and development, on one hand, universities and faculties, and on the other hand, other institutions such as development agencies, technological parks, business incubators. Also, we have institutes and accredited labs, and you have previously heard how it works in the case of universities, and we have also chambers of commerce, different consultancy agencies. However, since there is a limited investment from the public budget in all these important institutions, there is a high dependence on international projects. Institutions which should deal with research and innovation involve ministries, universities, chambers, consultancy agencies, as you can see on the slide, and nominally the key elements of research and innovation ecosystem exist. Government agencies at both entity and state levels provide funding for research and innovation projects, but this funding is very, very limited. It's limited to few thousand euros and per project or per beneficiary, and it's very difficult to do any serious work with the money available. Universities and research institutes represent vital components of innovation ecosystems, and they are contributing not only to industry but also to education, research, and knowledge transfer among students and other members of academia. For instance, institutions like the University of Sarajevo and University of Banja Luka could play significant roles in producing still graduates and conducting research. Unfortunately, there is a tendency that graduates are taking different opportunities, and many of them decide to leave the country after their graduate and try to find job and life opportunities abroad, elsewhere, in most of the cases in the US and Europe. Specialized research institutions, including public and private entities, contribute somewhat to research and development in various fields. However, I would say that they are mostly linked with certain private companies, bigger private companies, and I have previously explained that there is a limited number of bigger private companies in the country, while the other companies, such as small and medium-sized enterprises, regardless of the industry we are talking about, are basically trying to introduce innovations and all kinds of advancements in their production from the companies which are operating abroad. The key challenges and barriers, this innovation ecosystem in Bosnia and Herzegovina is facing many challenges. In addition to this bureaucratic hurdle, the lack of cooperation between institutions and insufficient innovation infrastructure are probably the biggest challenges. And in addition to that, there is a limited funding, which represents probably the most prominent challenge at this moment. So when we are talking about funding, both public and private spending are among the lowest in Western Balkans region. Universities lack knowledge and resources for research. Transformation of science research into innovation and products is low. Human resource capacities are deteriorating due to brain drain, as previously explained. Research and development company spending amounted to 0.07% of gross domestic product compared to EU average of 0.32. This is data from 2016. According to this, in the Global Innovation Index for 2024, DNH is ranked 80th out of 133 countries, while in Europe it's just ahead Albania and Belarus on 37th place out of 39 countries. The main opportunity exists in the private funding through establishment of private universities and privately funded research institutions. However, this story is hardly profitable, since DNH companies rarely develop own products. Those which can afford themselves to do so rather opt to purchase a product development services from abroad. The number of process innovations, for example, automation, digitalization, robotization, is also very limited. Still, there are technologically advanced companies in Bosnia and Herzegovina which are mainly in foreign ownership and where businesses, technologies and products are being supplied externally. In this case, process innovations are products of own initiative. Some of the examples of such companies include Hirschmann Automotive from Rajlovac nearby Sarajevo, for instance, Think Technic company nearby Mostar, located in one village of Rapčići, and for instance, Alloy Wheel factory, which is producing wheels for many famous car producers and which is located in IaaS. The limited funding results in limited spending. So if there is no funding, neither from private or public sector, we have a situation that research and development expenditure as a part of GDP share in Bosnia and Herzegovina, you can see that on this graphic one, amounted to 0.19% of GDP, while your average spending was 2.2% of GDP, and the top countries with regard to spending on research and development were Sweden, 3.6%, and they are followed with Belgium and Austria with 3.3% of GDP share. In the period, this was in 2023. According to the Agency of Statistics of Bosnia and Herzegovina, value added of production as a share of GDP per capita in Bosnia and Herzegovina, instead of growing, it has stopped somewhere in 2018, and now it's even lower than it used to be some years ago. We can see how domestic funding and support to research and innovation is limited, and what about regional collaboration projects and networks in which Bosnia and Herzegovina and its companies and other stakeholders are participating. There is a number of project-driven activities, which are establishing networks, providing funding for research and development and innovation. However, there are several difficulties with regard to dependence on the project approach. First of all, there is a limited sustainability of these actions after completion of project. There is also irreversible loss of enthusiasm if we are dealing with some project which is unsuccessful. And in my work, I am very often dealing with these cases when companies or other stakeholders do not want to participate into something what they perceive as unsuccessful according to their previous experience. Also, there is a quick shifting in donors' focus to new priorities with networks and supporting institutions which are struggling to catch up with the donors' interests and the donors' needs. As one of the most interesting project examples, I will mention GIZ aimed at employment of medical staff in Germany under GIZ vocational education and employment pillar. Basically, the project is picking up medical staff which has been educated in Bosnia and Herzegovina for its own needs. And this is, for me, very, very rational approach of GIZ. In this case, they are protecting the interests of Germany. They see what is the interest of their economy in any other countries, and in this case, their programs are being dedicated to digitalization, business development, and they simply align their programs with the needs of their economy. It's a problem of countries such as Bosnia and Herzegovina that their government or governments do not recognize that sometimes international programs are not in their interest. At the end of the day, due to low positions in the global value chain, foreign buyers are treating domestic companies rather as their operation facilities than as a separate factory. A number of B&H companies, particularly in metal processing, automotive industry, wood processing, and furniture sector, is providing production inputs for foreign companies, which is very normal if you are not too low in the value chain. If you are too low, then even when you have a final product, such as in case of furniture, this product is often being sold under other brand names. One of the rarest good examples in wood processing or furniture industry is Gazda business model, which is providing a full set of services from design to sale to selected furniture. There are many bad examples of loan arrangements owing to cheap energy and still a relatively cheap workforce, which B&H companies to their limits. There is one example of a company where female workforce was literally welding smartphone power cables. I have visited this company back in 2016, and can you imagine the case of the company where there was a cheaper to involve female workforce than to buy a robot for welding or some other welding machine? It's unbelievable. I was in shock after I have visited this company. In the described circumstances, what is the attitude of B&H companies? How do they perceive and how do they manage their innovativeness? As I have previously said, they are predominantly focused on production. This behavior of a number of B&H companies is contrary to the global trend that has been shown that the focus has shifted from production to intangible pre-production and post-production activities. Remember the smiling curve. The situation has its causes but also consequences. And these consequences are primarily manifested through low added value, low competitiveness, low profitability of the companies, and their huge dependence on partners, particularly foreign partners, suppliers, buyers, and customers. In addition to the ecosystem to support companies in B&H. Although there are domestic examples of good practices, and also which I can mention some, that show good results. These good results can be achieved by outsourcing some functions, internal capacities of the domestic companies, especially outside of the production function. Also, there is lacking knowledge and capacity that include pre-production and post-production activities. This concentration production is basically a big problem to the companies because they tend not to deal with anything else than production. Furthermore, there is a modest ecosystem that supports businesses and low trust for businesses in service providers, including service providers in the field of development and innovation. The key requirements that push innovation come from buyers, and legal requirements such as certain technical standards in the last time CBAM is very important. And the consequences, as I have already stated, are low added value of B&H industry production, low competitiveness, and low profitability. And now let's see how does it reflect to B&H companies' innovativeness. A survey of almost 5,500 companies shows that 40% have some innovative activities at the level of the company. I'm talking about innovations at the level of the company, which can only be perceived as innovative if you are talking about company level. They are not innovative in terms of country, even the region. Only 4% of scientific and research personnel are employed in private sector, which shows that there is a big discontinuity, or there are two weak links between academia and real world, the companies. Cases of interaction of companies with public science and research system are rare. Companies enjoy almost no support from public sector. Now, 34% of companies develop new technologies internally, 33% in cooperation with foreign experts, 19% in cooperation with other companies, 10% obtain them through licenses, while less than 2% do so in cooperation with public scientific and research institutions. This is, of course, out of companies which have certain activities in the field of development of new technologies. Most companies are not in favorable position for innovation, even those that produce final products. They often sell it, as I have already explained, under somebody else's brand. And what are the perspectives under the described environment? The industry perspectives in B&H, there are several ways how we can try to improve the situation. One way is continuous effort towards integration with international and European frameworks. We are seriously lacking these frameworks as a country. The other way is improvement of institutional frameworks, which are critical in fostering a more thriving research environment. And we can do this by participation in various international research programs and networks, such as EDIH, AIT. Also, there is possibility to improve the situation through collaboration opportunities, initiatives like Horizon Europe program and other EU initiatives. And I would also like to mention at the end of my presentation one curiosity. Our colleague from Slovakia has been talking about support which is provided in this area to companies in Slovakia, and one of the curiosity relates to the city of Žilina and the first factory of Volkswagen, which has been opened in Žilina back in 1991, has been transferred from Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. This is one very, very interesting moment. What could be done and what should be done? While Bosnia and Herzegovina had a rich historical research and innovation context, there are post-war challenges which are very, very hard now and which have tempered its development. To move forward, we need to strengthen institutional frameworks, we need to enhance funding, we need to promote collaboration and innovation, and we need to try to revitalize the research and innovation landscape in this country. And this is basically what I have prepared for this presentation. It was rather challenging to find out any positive elements of B&H research and innovation system I have been talking to some university professors, I have been talking to some industry specialists, and basically, and unfortunately, they share the same opinion that the situation is very difficult, and I would like to ask all of you who are working in similar activities and similar projects to try to help us, try to exchange your knowledge and experiences so that we can move forward and so we can catch our place with the rest of the developed world. Thank you very much for your attention. Of course, I am available for any questions and additional information, and of course for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michal. If anybody has some question, don't hesitate and ask. Now is the right time. No. Once again, thank you to all the presenters for their time and the interesting presentation. Silvia, Felix, Matúš, Michal, thank you. I also thank everyone who participated in this webinar on our research and innovation capacities. I look forward to the other topic we have on the agenda in the coming weeks. I hope to see you again in our travels. I would like to remind you that the next workshop will be on the 8th of April on the topic market research. Finally, I would like to remind you that if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact the presenters or the Innovation as a Service team directly. So thank you for your attention. Have a nice day and see you soon.
We have some hands raised. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Goran, yeah.
Okay, go on.
Sorry, you were too fast in closing the event. Sorry, I didn't get chance. I didn't get a chance to respond. I just want to thank all the participants of today's webinar, especially our colleague Michal, which have presented the situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we consider this project. I just wanted to say this. We consider this project as a good point in which we could establish exchange of information regarding the national development project, national programs of support to innovation. So whenever we face, when I say we, I'm talking about primarily organizations from Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also the organizations from Western Balkans. Whenever we face transnational cooperation, we are in communication with the organizations which are heavily or not so heavily using their national programs of support to development and innovations. And what we are trying to do is to get in possession of the information about their national programs, because as Michal said, we are in lack of national programs for development. We are struggling and using mainly the international cooperation programs and also the programs which are covered by the EU funds, EU funds and EU programs of support, which are, let's say, bottom line, it's really questionable if it's in our interest or in the interest of other parties for implementation of these programs. So I would like to use this opportunity to for the people from the IaaS project to share information about their national program. We already did in the mapping activity, and the presentation of Michal was very interesting in terms of maybe the Eastern countries. I don't know if the people from the Eastern countries of Europe and the countries of Western Balkans have recognized some of the features that we are facing and challenges that we are facing in Bosnia and Herzegovina with their recent history or maybe in the current situation. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. For me, it was very interesting section with cooperation with company from Slovakia, from Žilina, and with Volkswagen, because it's something what I know here in Slovakia. So we could everybody agree with you that you are faced challenges. So it's good to know that we have programs like IaaS for support. Anybody? Any other things to this topic? Today we have quite public. So I think we could close this session. Thank you again, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Silvia, Marek, Matúš, Felix, everybody. Thank you for your attention. And we will soon.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank